So while Grace is getting that up, I'm going to use this fabulous thing because after all, we are in an AI session, and I'm going to ask Grok to give us a nice intro here. Let's see. Let's say inspirational introduction to an AI chat. Here it comes. Okay, sure. The room is still growing. It's brilliant. Keep going. Of course, that's far too long. Make it more concise. That's a bit better. Okay, well, I haven't read it. Let's see what it gives us. I'm going to let her do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, imagine cancer caught before it whispers. Classrooms tailored to every child. Farmers predicting perfect harvest from a glance at the sky. This is AI, the greatest amplifier of human potential. AI doesn't replace us. It elevates us. It's our telescope for curiosity, microscope for compassion, wings for imagination. We stand at a renaissance. AI is already changing the world. The question, will we shape it with wisdom, ethics, and hope? Let us build AI that reflects our best coded for empathy, purpose, and tomorrow's children. This is our moment. Let's ignite AI to light a bolder, kinder future. The future isn't coming. It's ours to create. Let's begin.
Okay, thanks, Grok. You might have done that better than I could have. It's an exciting age. We're in a different kind of place. But it's an exciting time. It's a daunting time. I think lots of people are scared of AI. They're not quite sure how to approach it. They're not sure how to navigate the disruption that the whole world is frankly seeing itself in, never mind our communications space. So I suppose the burning question then is, if good old Grok can introduce us so eloquently, why do we need communicators at all? And the simple truth is because AI does know everything, but it understands nothing. And that is really what we have to navigate. So in a world where we know audiences are searching for authenticity, it's quite ironic that we're turning to a robot for a solution. And I think that's the marriage of how we bring those two together that we're going to discuss over the next hour, and see how we layer in the responsible and ethical use of AI into the work that we do and into the brands we create and curate. So just an outline of today. We're going to talk a little bit about the media transformation in SA, how it's changing, how AI is influencing the way media are monetizing their models, as well as how they're finding audiences. The power of data and how we use that to really define value for audiences, not just about creating content that much more rapidly. How we create resonance and authenticity in anything we do, and innovation is obviously rooted in everything that AI can do for us. But particularly what it does for us in Africa, not only in the South African context, and really then what the future holds, really what the present holds for us too. So without ado, let's go and allow Grace to set a scene for us.
Okay, welcome everybody. Please remember I can't see the chat, but my colleagues can. Welcome to put questions into the chat while we go, and then obviously we'll have a session at the end. So as Patrick used Grok, I used Perplexity and ChatGPT putting this presentation together. But I also used the 35-year work experience Grace Belger, who's not young, and realized that at this stage, you definitely need both. So one of the first things just to say is I use the third person and the first person interchangeably, which is not always ideal, but so be it. So I talk about you. This is all about you, everybody that's in this room. So when I speak about you, I mean you, and then obviously everyone as communicators for organizations or representatives of the organizations themselves. Okay. So 2025, alleged, let's see, next year, marks a tipping point where technology, culture, and ethics intersect. As communication professionals, we need to redefine trust and authenticity in this age of digital disruption. Responsible AI usage is key in communication and in general, and we're going to talk a lot about that. So it's the opportunity and the challenges of AI that also include ethical problems with content authenticity and bias. And we will spend some time on that. Okay, so where did we start? What started the fire? For us oldies, I'm sure there's a song there. And what sparked a lot of controversy around AI is the little thing called misinformation and its very evil cousin, disinformation. Misinformation, both have been around a very long time. It's false or inaccurate information that mimics traditional media. And that's a great danger. Disinformation's worse because it's deliberately intended to mislead and intentionally misstates the facts. And both of these threaten trust and can directly affect your reputation. As part of this, as organizations and communicators, you need to constantly fact check what you read and what content you put out. One of the recommendations, particularly in South Africa, is to co-partner with an agency like Africa Check. It's a non-profit independent organization, and it's extremely accurate. It fact checks media, particularly in Africa. So where's the inferno, the ticking time bomb? A few months ago, it was still possible to spot artificial intelligence, particularly videos, with a trained eye and a good dose of cynicism, which I have. So little things like glassy eyes, inconsistent lighting, or warped faces and hands, and that's in terms of video. Obviously, in terms of written information or images, things that just don't look true. But in October this year, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, introduced its latest product called Sora. And this has taken AI and misinformation and disinformation to a new level. It's a text-to-video system which can generate photorealistic scenes and very dangerously, staggeringly accurate human likenesses from one single written prompt. So I'm going to show you their show reel, which shows that the line between filmed and fabricated is very rapidly changing.
Is there sound, Grace?
Sorry? Was there no sound?
No sound on it?
Sorry, I know what I did wrong. It's coming. Is that better?
Yes.
花火、綺麗だね。でも僕たちは少しずつ離れていく。
Ready when you are. 3, 2, 1, go! Dude, you all right? I'm good.
Okay, so everything there is artificial, and that is really scary. So what this means is that for innocent social media users, this marks the beginning of the end of authentic content. Soon we're just not going to be able to tell the difference. So AI doesn't just do a simple PR or advertising job. It does what we call, it personalizes persuasion. It knows content and intent, but it, as Patrick said earlier, it doesn't understand it. So what do we mean by personalized persuasion? It means that it can personalize information to the specific person that's asking for it. So why does that lead to persuasion? Recent neuroscientific research shows that personalized messages activate the brain's reward pathways much more intensely than generic appeals. It's all about us at the end of the day. But all of this makes it tremendously attractive, but damn dangerous. Going back old school, these are the two letters in Mandarin that make up the word crisis. So the first letter means danger, they call it, and G, the second letter, is opportunity or crucial point. Just as an aside, if you go to ChatGPT, it will tell you that the opportunity interpretation is because of Western culture. The original character meant to send additional troops to enhance the defense. Anyway, be that as it may, how do we use AI to our advantage while recognizing the dangers? So the opportunities are huge. Progress, efficiency, inclusion leading back to what we said before, that it is persuasive for individuals. But the challenges are huge. Bias. Any of you who've seen my media training, you'll know that a lot of people attribute bias to the human brain, where we don't use the frontal cortex enough, and AI knows that. So it puts things in front of you that activate your bias, and you don't even know it's happening. So it does that through misinformation, disinformation. So with great potential comes great scrutiny. As you all know, the algorithm is fed, and I get articles on AI, especially since I've been doing this all the time. But I got one this morning, very interesting study in a newsletter called The Conversation, which is academic articles about Africa. And it's about creating smart cities, specifically in Westbury and the Cape. And it concludes that tech is not neutral. It assumes, it's the assumptions of the designers. And while our cities are growing rapidly, and obviously we want to build smart cities, the studies show that technology is one thing, but they have to be fair, inclusive, and resilient, and designed with, not just for, the people who live there. So inclusion is an opportunity, but it's also a challenge, particularly in South Africa. All right, so the biggest thing that AI challenges is trust. And that goes hand in hand with your reputation. So, organizations that fail to address trust will face resistance. If you prioritize transparency, fairness, and you give clear-cut examples in your communication using AI, but also examples that the particular audience understands and can relate to, you will build long-term trust. There'll be meaningful adoption, And the big bonus is that it's a competitive advantage. I'm sure you all heard the old adage, I forgot who it was attributed to, but it's actually Richard Baldwin, the economist, who said, AI won't take your job. Somebody using AI will take your job. So this is just an extension of that. So it's being aware of the dangers and the challenges. So yeah, AI is not just about automation. It actually also augments with a whole lot of provisos, which we'll speak about a lot. So it unlocks human potential in ways we have yet to fully realize. And yeah, if companies get this right, they'll shape an era of innovation and prosperity. So just as I was looking around, or AI prompted me, UNESCO has global standards on AI ethics. And these reinforce creating responsible AI and adopting principles of fairness, privacy, and demonstrating a genuine benefit to South Africa, to the society. So that's how important AI has become in this modern world, being aware of its dangers. So bringing it back to our backyard, South Africa is undergoing immediate transformation. We know this, we see it daily, and it's just rolling, and particularly in digital media and social media. So just an overview, estimated total population 64.4 million, 50.8 million South Africans are online. That's 79% of the population. 26.7 million are active on social platforms. There's a slight difference, and that is 41% of the population. And that is huge. Those numbers are really pivotal. So the most used platforms in South Africa, WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and then going into LinkedIn and Instagram and X, and of course, including messengers. Here are some stats. This will be part of the recording. What it shows is that South Africans spend significant time on video-heavy platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and WhatsApp. Facebook is steadily declining. I think I still like it, but then I'm the oldie. The younger generation are shown not to like it. TikTok has surged. It's a platform of choice for short-term video consumption. And yeah, that reflects the dominance in entertainment and youth culture. So TikTok user base in South Africa increased by nearly 34% this year. And YouTube has also shown a marked increase. So traditional media and broadcast particularly is declining, and obviously digital platforms globally are dominating as well as here. As I said before, video dominates, and that is TikTok, YouTube, and WhatsApp. I'm going to let Patrick speak to this slide.
So just, I think by short example, if we know that video is the most consumed medium on various channels, it has to have different purposes for different channels. But when we start to look at the insights of how audiences actually consume that video content on those channels, we can then build that content accordingly with the help of AI. And we can see that the time and budget efficiency that AI can create into content creation is significant. It's why we need to embrace it. But the content layouts, the concepts, right from ideation through to actual implementation, needs to look at all of these kinds of factors to understand how that video is ultimately going to get consumed. And that, I think, really becomes the value add of how we create value in content as opposed to just creating content for content's sake. Thanks, Grace.
Thank you. All right, so I couldn't do this for me. Maybe I wasn't using the right platform, so I used myself. So basically, I just wanted to give you an overview of the universe as a bright back. So obviously, as we said before, total social media users in SA are 50.8 million. So WhatsApp gets the bulk of that. Obviously, these all overlap with users. There's a little bit of a chicken wing sticking out, then they get 94% of active social media users. Facebook gets a little bit less, a couple of wings outstanding at 88.6%, but that is declining rapidly. TikTok is increasing rapidly, 76.9%. Soon, I think they'll probably have a much bigger share of the meal. And with that, I pass this on to
Thanks, Grace. Yeah. So AI is driven all about where it scrapes information from. And that's the power of data in everything that we do. Both how it scrapes data in terms of what it uses to actually generate algorithms and content, but also how the data gets into the system in the first place. And I think that's part of how we have to really consider the ethics and responsibility of use around data and how we use AI platforms, both public and private ones. Because ultimately it is all about building trust. This is something that comms has always done. It's sheer reputation management. It's just the channels are broadening and how the content on those channels is being consumed and created. But controlling clarity becomes vital in building that long-term trust with consumers and regulators, and indeed all stakeholders along the way. So the ethics of how we actually comply, how we build content strategies for end users really does become critical and can become the market advantage and differentiator. The old adage goes, we used to say, unless you want to stick it on a billboard, don't say it. It was the social media sort of golden rule of thumb. The same is absolutely prevalent with AI. To the extent of how we actually use it in terms of inputting data into the platform. And one of the key things to do is really to use those privacy settings so that not all of the information actually becomes public. The value add across what AI generates really becomes the need to check. So as much as AI scrapes all of the data that's out in the Ethernet, not all of that data is correct, as we know. It's that misinformation, disinformation age. And so there's a really big responsibility on brands to fact check what it spits out, so that also we run regulatory compliance and build the trust in the way that resonates with that authenticity that we know audiences want from brands these days. So it's really about shaping public narratives and influencing social discourse within that responsible railroad track of what it spits out at you. Don't believe everything it tells you. The value really comes on the so-called NI, the natural intelligence of people behind it that understand the context, layer in the value of understanding over the knowledge base, so that we really can ensure that those activities become brand building and reputation curating, as opposed to just spitting out stuff that doesn't resonate, doesn't build the value that audiences want to to consume. Because ultimately it's not a replacement. Even as Grok said right in the beginning, it's an enhancement, it's an amplification, and when we use it cleverly and responsibly, it really can make us much more efficient. It makes us better, but we need to continue to guide its principles. So how do we then redefine that value proposition for clients? We've got to move from cost focus to really strategic value. That value equation is shifting. And the real metric now is not just reach. It's not about getting as far as we can, but it's really getting to who is really important. And the data and the tech allows us to really do that when we embrace it. So it's really about creating that brand resonance. How do we layer in the authenticity? And it's a thing we at Meropa often refer to as content versus context. Change one little letter in a word and it creates a very different value in the whole system that really provides audiences with a reason to consume your brand as opposed to all the other noise that's out there. So if you trust your phone to go out on a date with your partner, well, good for you, but I think you'll quickly identify the need to interpret what AI can do for a brand as opposed to just letting Grok introduce your agency webinar to clients. It really is about, I was very uncomfortable when Grace put this slide in
I did it on
for
purpose.
some reason. But it isn't. It's not about the reach anymore. It's about targeting and resonating with those who actually count. It's about considering the conversations that you want to be part of, and really layering in reputation value into those. So we thought we'd just look at a couple of examples, not Meropa work, but good case study, big brand things that you will recognize. And Nedbank's See Money Differently campaign was interesting in the fact that it blatantly and extrovertly used AI in trying to drive resonance across cultures and across markets. So it was a sub-Saharan Africa campaign, so not only just regional South African contexts, but different Africa market context in it. And the cost savings in the campaign were significant because they were able to create targeted, tailored, resonant messaging for different cultures, so different cultural audiences, very quickly, very efficiently, and in a very cost-effective way, but with testing them along the way, I think is really the critical thing. So the speed and efficiency of the whole campaign created in 19 days. Now for an above the line campaign, that's significant, including client reverts. We know how tricky it is to get approvals through legal, through the CAMEL committees, to really consider how those messages are ultimately going to resonate. So I think this is quite a good example of how it was used, how AI was used to really build efficiency into creating the campaign and amplifying the true authenticity of brand in how it actually got to market. Influencers is a completely different kind of concept, and I think a marketing channel, communications channel that I think gets challenged quite broadly within an AI context. So what we do know is that influencers are becoming reconsidered in value terms because there's a realization of the pay for play element. And it goes back to good old advertising, interruptive advertising days, where we said editorial is always more valuable than advertising because somebody says it on your behalf. Well, why was it more? Because nobody believed the paid advertising messages as much as the earned advertising messages. And that's true in the influencer space as well. People are realizing that influencers paid to deliver messages are perhaps not as authentic or as believable as the trend now to go more into nano influencers. Again, it's the size thing. It's not about how big, how far you can reach, but really how on a micro level on how you can resonate with audiences that actually count. And I think in a noisy market, brands that stand for clarity, honesty, and consumer respect are the ones that are really going to cut through the clutter better.
All right, thanks, Patrick. Okay, so bringing it back to Jenny in the yard, or whatever it was, it goes further than it's got a different element to it in terms of cultural authenticity. Specifically, we'll talk specifically about South Africa, and it's key. It's a competitive advantage. You can't afford not to. So, in a country as diverse as South Africa, localized content is key. This is related to all forms of marketing, but we're speaking specifically about using it through AI. Because it will always build authentic connections with local audiences. As mentioned before many times, AI innovation comes hand in hand with ethics, and particularly in South Africa, respecting diverse cultures. And this is something AI doesn't know how to do yet, especially in Africa. I'm going to talk about it later. But I think the key word I keep thinking of when I'm looking at all of this is yet, because who knows? But essentially, cultural insight with digital innovation is the competitive edge. You need to create media that feels local, but is future focused. Understanding the cultural nuances, languages, and preferences of different communities will create very resonant and impactful campaigns. You need to strive to represent the rich tapestry of our society. And obviously this makes people feel more included and related to. So yeah, organizations need to tap into the voices and stories of South Africans and craft ultimately campaigns or information that reflects the spirit of the nation. Local content not only enhances brand loyalty, but it drives higher engagement and brand affinity. People like to be related to and spoken to individually in a way that resonates with them in terms of their culture and their language. So I've got a few examples of short little clips, mostly on TikTok. This is a blend of blatant promotion like Checker 6060, but also influencers like Nick Hammond and Suzelle, and starting with TikTok advertising itself.
Literally just twist it all around and then you tie your bunch knot. Papa, how?
TikTok, that's how. I'm Nick Hammond, here to pay tribute to an icon. You can't tell me that you don't know the flavor symphony that is white bread spread with margarine together with chips of your choosing, crucially pushed down together with an audible crunch and improved only by the crucial inclusion of an ice-cold glass of Oros. To me, this has to be one of Mzansi's greatest culinary achievements, and I need to know that I wasn't the only one who grew up with it, so please let me know in the comments, because...
So yeah, or else you never know if he was paid to do that, but still very authentic.
How to make a braai pie. You will need puff pastry, cheese, mushroom, chopped onion, parsley, and a little bit of leftover meat from a braai. Roll out the first layer of pastry on your grill. Sprinkle with a bit of cheese, your onions, lovely sauteed mushrooms, and now for your lovely pieces of steak. Spread it out evenly so that everyone gets a bite. Season it. And now seal the pie. Brush it thoroughly with your egg and put your pie on the braai. Turn the braai pie often. Give it about 15 minutes. Braai pie is ready. Did I braai? Because anybody can. Well, fuck.
Sorry about that for sensitive viewers. But again, mimicking an accent, but at the same time, I believe respecting local culture. Nick Hammond doing the same. So, yeah, local storytelling will always lead to bigger audience loyalty, and be very careful about using imported formats that just don't speak to the people. And the point that these shows, well, it doesn't have to cost a lot. Those are really cheap videos, including the corporate ones, but they because they're locally adapted, they resonate rather than expensive tech gimmicks that are very American and don't relate to South Africans. So yeah, authentic video will always outperform. This is it's kind of an oldie, but it's using local culture very cleverly.
Budget is not looking good. That is going up 0.5%. 0.5
for every cent?
No, percent.
What?
Yes, VAT. VAT up. Petrol up. I give up. But South Africans can still save.
Save, Kanjan. How?
Roman's Pizza. They can get a large pizza from the Feaster range for 89 Rand 90.
Oh. What?
That's crazy.
We are ordering, make them speak up. We are ordering. They must also order.
Get any large pizza from the Feaster range for...
And I think South Africans, we've got a great sense of humor about ourselves. But something like that could have gone really wrong, because it's mimicking our political parties and in Parliament. But it did, in my opinion, it didn't. Another example is Sepo Jeans. It's a lifestyle brand founded in South Africa, mostly a denim range. So they had a campaign called We the People, and it celebrated cultural diversity, and it was in all 11 languages as well as sign language. And this sparked conversations about inclusivity and South African identity. And yeah, they successfully tapped into national pride and the importance of cultural involvement, and very successfully and at a very low cost. Okay. All right, so we've spoken many times about innovation, but yeah, new formats. There's new ones all the time. Patrick spoke about all the different video formats. We all know that interactive storytelling is vital, and AI can help you with that. But if you don't have a sense of culture and ethics, it's not going to resonate at all. And then, brands play with things like immersive experiences, and then gamification. Gamification is a tricky one because I just read again today, it's appalling that a huge percentage of the youth use their social grant money for online gambling, and that is terrifying. But it can be used for good and for blatant campaigns. Also in financial services, there's companies can use a combination of innovation and storytelling, which helps consumers make sense of financial information by creating something they can relate to. So Capitec does this really well. It positions them as not just a bank, but more of a brand and a partner in the community.
I almost spent 2,600 Rand on an eyeshadow palette, and thankfully Capitec came through for me. Hi, my name is Kayla Myers and I have an addiction, a shopping addiction. Guys have been commenting on my spending habits and I agree. But I think I found the solution. I was scrolling on my Capitec banking app the other day and I saw this 7-day notice deposit. And basically the way that works is you have to give a 7-day notice before you take the money out. Which actually gave me time to think, do I really need this palette? Because I probably have other palettes with these exact same shades. Or do I finally save up and purchase that makeup vanity I've been eyeing since literally like 2016? To be honest, I'm really proud of myself. I've been dropping like a 50 or 100 Rand in there when I can, and she's growing. Capitec really made it easy to start saving. Almost.
Okay, so AI can't replace that kind of authenticity yet. So going back to human connection, consumers expect to be engaged as individuals. AI, as mentioned before, can do this with making things more personalized, and which leads to persuasion. But we still believe human connection is the ultimate innovation. Yeah, we need to lead with compassion and communicate with authenticity, which circles back to responsibility and ethics. So when you are creating a campaign, particularly using AI, pick a theme that's relevant to your audience or community. Invite participation, for example, a competition. Curate your stories. And then if you can, reward or recognize participants. So this is an example. MTN's Smart Challenge streaming platform and media innovation program, very much focused on the curation of local content in all its markets, starting with Nigeria, its largest. It was, in essence, a gamified campaign, but linked to community content creation. So they sourced local content, used local trained creators, and by so doing, enabled local and relevant storytelling. So that's the gaming aspect. It was in person and obviously online. And here is the part where people are rewarded or recognized. This has proven to be a very successful tool, but obviously it must again be authentic. And then lastly, as I promised, talking about Africa. So Chinasa Okolo is a researcher at the Brookings Institute, just to show that I know who she is, and a specialist on governance of artificial intelligence. That, again, a new kind of job, which we never had before, but absolutely necessary. So she focuses on Africa, and there's been people saying that AI is the only way to transform certain sectors in sub-Saharan Africa, but she challenges that. She said that reflects a problematic ideology that mostly comes from the West. So major tech firms with commercial interests, like Meta and Google, ignore local realities. At the moment, it cannot tap too deeply into linguistic diversity in Africa. And as we know, languages carry culture, values, and local wisdom. And at this stage, AI cannot recognize many African languages yet. And then, as it says in an article that I researched, If AI doesn't speak our languages, it can't reliably understand our intent, and we can't trust or therefore verify its answers. In short, without language, AI can't communicate with us, and we can't communicate with it in an African context. It goes further to say that in practice, what this does is denies Africans access in their own languages to global news, educational material, etc. When a language isn't in the data, the speakers aren't in the product. And therefore, that AI cannot be safe, useful, or fair. They end up missing necessary language technology tools. So this is a project that there's a project, I got this from it's called African Next Voices. So it's a team of African computer scientists, linguists, and language specialists who've been working on this issue for about 2 years, primarily funded by the Gates Foundation, by the way, and involves African universities and organizations. So they recently released what's thought to be the largest data set of African languages for AI so far. Patrick?
So what does the present hold? What does the future hold? We really are embracing AI in everything that we do, layered obviously in with that responsibility and those ethics that lots of our clients place in us to build inside their reputation and communication strategies. I think we need to really create a balance between AI and NI, and it's about respecting the powers that AI can generate for us, but not overestimating how it actually ultimately lands with our stakeholders, with our end consumers. There are lots of places that we can use to really make our work better with it, and those we must embrace. And then we need to be able to evolve as rapidly as the tech is evolving. If we thought that our communication space has been disrupted in the last 5 years, it's certainly more and more disrupted at even more pace in the last year. And that's a daunting thing to navigate, but agencies, communicators are here to help navigate that journey. I think the crucial thing to understand is that AI isn't new. AI has been pervasive in our culture, in our comms world, in everything that we do for decades. The hype that we're currently seeing around its use is the thing that is new. And like the daunting thing of social media, or new media as we called it, died down as adoption increased, that we expect will happen with AI as well. But the power of NI really is going to continue to enrich data-driven insights and help make them relevant, resonant with audiences, and truly authentic for brands. And if we get that right, then AI is an incredibly powerful tool to help curate reputations going forward. I hope that was informative, interesting. I didn't see that there were too many queries along the chat, but we're happy to open the floor and take a bit of discussion.
Obviously, we'll be sending, I've got all your email addresses, so we'll be sending the recording to you. And we've had a number of requests from people who couldn't attend. So, yeah, any queries or comments? No? Either we did a too good a job, Patrick, and no one's questioning anything.
Well, for the clients who are in our session today, your teams are available. We're all available to kind of interrogate and look at your strategies. Elisa and I, Grace as well, all available too. And you know, we're actively driving how we use AI, how we use tech in our overall vision of what communication space has always been, is that we just have more and more channels available to communicate in. And we need to create stories that are relevant to those channels. AI gives us tools and opportunity to tackle some of those newer channels that much more effectively. Doesn't make the old channels go away. And the good old truth about communications remains, and that is people want to tell stories and hear stories from people. And also whatever gets inserted along the way just makes the braai conversation that much more interesting.
Lots of braais in this presentation. And also, as we stressed, it doesn't have to cost a lot. It really doesn't. You know, the more it resonates, especially locally, people are looking for that because there's so much content they want to be spoken to. All right. Well, I think we are at the end, and we will be sending you the recording. And then, as Patrick said, if you have any needs or questions, that's fine. Just let your teams know. Okay. Thank you, everybody.